Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Weekdays with Bernie segment tonight. On Friday, we produced two Colorado law enforcement officials that told us flat out the state needs Jessica's Law. We could have produced 10. We did that because the editorial director of the Denver Post said this.
No one in law enforcement in Colorado supported it in 2007, 2009, or again this year.
Okay.
In fact, it's only brought up when the Republicans are in the minority in Colorado, not when they had the majority. It's been used against Democrats as a wedge issue politically.
Right, but you don't know whether you support it or not. All you know is that no one, and believe me, I'll get law enforcement from Colorado on here, and I'll make you look foolish on that statement. Which I did on Friday. Now, we expected the Colorado media to pick up the story, but thus far they have not. With us now, the purveyor of BernardGoldberg.com, Mr. Goldberg. This story is important because it epitomizes what I believe is happening in the United States, that the press is no longer interested in the news. All right? Now, maybe there's a lot of stuff going on in Colorado that we don't know about. And maybe the other newspapers and the television, local news, and maybe they just have too much to worry about possible corruption between the Democratic Party in Colorado and the largest newspaper there and the vital issue of Jessica's Law. Maybe they just have too much, Bernie.
Yeah, maybe and maybe not. I don't know if Colorado TV is typical of American local TV, but the Pew Research Center just came out with a poll on local television. I should say that they only surveyed 4 markets in the whole country, so I don't know if it's a good survey or not. But here's what they found. You ready for this? Only 20% of the stories on local television are longer than 1 minute in length. 20%. 80% are less than a minute. 40% of the entire newscast is filled with sports, weather, and traffic. 40%, almost half the newscast. And when it comes to government or politics, only 3% of the newscast is filled with that. So that explains a lot.
But here's the danger. We saw, and we discussed this with you last week, there's a wide perception that President Obama is getting favorable treatment at the national level by the press, and you would assume that bleeds down to the local level as well.
It's not just a perception.
Okay. So whether you believe that or not, it's in play, and if it's true, and it looks like it is, that helps President Obama immeasurably, because the media tends to ignore stories that make him look bad. So therefore, the uninformed electorate, which is growing in this country, gets the perception that he's a winner, that he's a good guy, that he's an effective president. So what we have here is that the press is not reporting the news anymore. It's in business to promote a certain candidate. And that's why we did this Denver Post story, because they're propping up the Democratic Party, even using the same language against me.
Right. But I think you missed something that is a big story. And I'm not sure how you missed it, but tell me if you agree with me.
Go.
In the interview you did with Hubbard, the editorial page editor, and in the sound cut you played in the lead-in to this segment right now,
right,
Hubbard says that when the Republicans are in the majority in the Colorado legislature, they don't bring up Jessica's Law.
But I don't care about that.
What do you mean you don't care about that?
Because
Why not?
the Democrats have controlled now for a few years, and I'm trying to get this law passed now. All I want is for the legislature in Colorado to vote on it. So everybody gets on the record who opposes and who's for.
And you don't care that when the
No, because I don't know the history of it, and I don't really have time to do a history lesson on Colorado. So we're dealing with the here and now, and that's why I didn't do it. Look, this is a program that has time constraints as well. And I'm trying to get all these.
You had a Republican legislator on the show. I forget her name.
Yes, and she's now sponsoring this business. I guess I could have asked her why 5 years ago didn't you do it?
Why don't you Republicans bring it up if it's so important?
Well, she is bringing it up.
Well, she
introduced it, and it can't get anywhere.
They bring it up when the Democrats are in the majority to use it against the Democrats.
I didn't want to get involved with partisan politics in Colorado. It doesn't interest me. I want the vote to take place, and I think it should take place. But now we can't even get the Denver media to report on this story, and this is a huge story.
There's another reason for that, I think. And as a national correspondent for several decades at CBS News, I've noticed this. When a national news organization comes in and goes big with a story that the locals pretty much have either ignored or downplayed.
They don't want to be embarrassed.
No, they don't want to be embarrassed. They really don't.
But this becomes a story about a party, the Democrats, and the Denver Post, the largest newspaper in the state, actually working together and merging.
Well, this
is huge.
We don't know that there's collusion. To prove that there's collusion, you'd have to know that they talked to each other, they got together, they said, hey, let's do this and that.
What are you, Alice in Wonderland?
No, wait a second. Let me finish the sentence.
The wording's almost identical.
Let me finish the sentence. I'm the one who said on this program 2 weeks ago, it's number one, the wording is almost, I said that first.
Identical
you said
between a fundraiser Democrat and his column.
The ideas are the same, and the fundraising letter and the op-ed came out 4 days apart.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it certainly looks suspicious.
Right.
No question about that.
So maybe the Denver local media could investigate and move the story forward.
Did you hear what I said in the beginning? Were you listening to me?
Yes.
You never listened to me.
The story would be more than a minute and they wouldn't do it.
That's not a...
Maybe they could break it up over 5 nights and do 45 seconds each night.
Well, they could... If 20%...
You're so cynical, Goldberg.
Well,
You're so cynical.
I'm saying local news... Listen, when I was in local news 100 years ago, we actually covered government and stuff like that.
I did the same thing when I was in Denver. I did it in Denver.
It's different now.
All right. Bernie Goldberg, everybody. Adam Carolla on deck. And